pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm stuck. Once again, good evening. Okay, so we're going to start with the approval of the minutes, which is 2.1, motion approving the July 10th, 2024 minutes of the regular meeting of the town board. So moved. Thank you.
Seconded.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And it's carried. There's no bid openings. And we'll move on to our public hearings for this evening. So first, we have public hearing for the Vestal Fire District under Town Law 170. And let me just read the legal notice. Okay, so notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held on July 24th, 2024 at 6 p.m. on the creation of the Vestal Fire District under Town Law 170. Please take further notice that there will be a proposal under New York General Municipal Law 216B for the newly formed fire district to assume all responsibility for administering the Volunteer Firefighters Service Award Program and of program assets. The estimated annual cost of the Service Award Program for the fire district is $300,000. Therefore, pursuant to statute, the Town Board of the Town of Vestal will hold a public hearing in the Town Boardroom, Vestal Town Hall, 605 Vestal Parkway West, Vestal, New York. At the time of the hearing, all interested persons will be heard. So that was announced, and so now we open our meeting, our public hearing. So let me introduce Tom McCartney, the chair of our Fire Governance Committee that is overseeing the transition. So thank you for coming.
Good, thank you. Good evening. So the discussion tonight will be the fire district with LoSAP. LoSAP is the Linked Service Awards Program. And the separation is from the town government. The current governance. The current governance of the fire district is under the town board. In New York State, according to the guidance of the state comptroller, it needs to be a separate organization, completely separate. Town council people cannot be fire commissioners according to New York State town law. So the process that we're going to go through is the formal separation of the fire district from the town board. Because we have LoSAP involved, maybe this one. Can't see it. Oh, you're not? There it goes. All right. So separation of the fire district, our town board wears two hats. We need to have this separation according to the guidance of the state comptroller. So by doing this, we would create new fire commissioners and this town board would no longer be fire commissioners. So we have to dissolve the existing fire district, create new fire commissioners, and those new fire commissioners would have responsibility over the Length of Service Awards program. So the plan is to form a new fire district. The new fire district would take effect in October of 24. This current town board will appoint new fire commissioners. They will govern the fire district. And this follows General Municipal Law 216B that states a newly formed fire district assumes the responsibility for administering the Length of Service Awards program. The new fire commissioners become the fiduciary of this trust fund. And we'll explain what the details are of this trust fund as we move forward. All right, so we're governed by fire district law, which is town law, general municipal law, and the oversight is that fiduciary responsibility for the LoSAP program. This was passed by a resolution in 1995 by the town board to create the program. The town board has current oversight. We're going to transfer that oversight to a new board of fire commissioners. We legally have to present this to tell the public what the town board is doing. That's why we're holding the public referendum. So our current LoSAP, Length of Service Awards program, has a value of $3.3 million. The benefits paid for 2023 was $151,035. And there's 49 people in the program right now that are entitled participants. To reach entitlement, you have to turn 65. You have to accrue a certain amount of points per year and meet the requirements of the program to receive that credit. So there's 49 people that are being paid that. We have a total of 211 participants. 74 earned service credit. We have 83 active participants, and we have 79 people who have been terminated but have vested rights to the program. Those are people that put their time in, have credit in the program, but they're no longer active firefighters. When they turn 65, they'll get benefits from this. It's a huge program to manage, and we have an actuary that does an annual report and provides us the information about how this is being managed and how we're delivering those funds to the people. Our projection for 2024 is we'll have 3 more people. In 25, there's 4 more people coming on board. In 26, there's 4 additional. So the age of our participants is increasing, which entitles them to their payment. Plus, we're bringing on new members, which if they reach their 50 points a year, they get service credit for that year. And when they hit 65, they'll receive a payment. So the 23-24 amortized credit reduced the contribution the fire district put in. In 2023, the fire district budgeted $7,500 in the program. They budgeted 2024 and 24 $15,000. The program is actually owed $86,000 based on the 2022 report. So the program was underfunded in the past 2 years. Why it was underfunded is because there was equity in the program that kept the program to where it needed to be. We're eating up equity because more entitlements and more people coming into the program. For 2025, we're projecting we have to put $90,000 into this program to maintain it at its baseline. This is a huge undertaking. We pay somebody to manage this, but we're seeing very good rates of return on this investment. It was a commitment that was made in 1995, and the program started in 96. It's an entitlement to people who put in time to our fire department. They meet the requirements, and we retain them as members. So it's something we committed to do in 95. We're continuing in 2025, but someone else besides the town board is going to be in charge, making sure that we're doing this right and we're fiscally prudent. That's why we're trying to convey this to the public. So the reason the $300,000 number was put in there is that the program contribution wouldn't exceed 300,000, or we'd have to come back and ask the public for permission to do that. You can see in 2025, we're going to put 90,000 in. 90,000 is far less than 300,000. So what we're telling you is we're asking for guidance from the public if they support the 300,000 limit as a LoSAP program. In the past, I believe from 95 to 2014, we only put 118,000 per year into this. So placeholder is 300,000, means we don't have to come back and ask the public again. So we wouldn't exceed 300,000 per year. The new commissioners would have fiduciary responsibility and oversight. It has to be approved by the state comptroller, and the town board has to make the final approval to make this happen. That is in a nutshell, the package regarding separation of the fire district with a LoSAP. Questions?
I apologize, I didn't read the report. It said 3 million of net assets.
3.3.
You know what the actuarial liability is if it's not net of that liability? You can just give it to me.
Total assets, 3.3 million.
It's basically, how it's funded to make sure that all of our firefighters are covered. To in case we ever had to make a change to the program. New York State has put out different laws as of recent where we could change title aid, change the amount. And we can also, make a few other changes where when we started this program, it was $15 per year for active service. Nowadays, it's going to, we could raise that or, raise it to as far as $50 per year of service. Entitlement age is 65, we can lower it, which puts more, we have to put more money in to cover long distance. Right now, our mortality rate is high, only because we got more people in the program that are lasting longer than 10 years of service. So the mortality rate is low. Yeah. So I'm reading this and it says that we have, I'm not sure if it's net assets, but assets of 3.2 million here. Sorry, 3.3 and liability of, assets of 3.3. I'm not sure that's net of anything. And then liability of 3.1. So the actual 3.2.
Yeah, I'm having trouble hearing you. And basically, my question is, your funding is coming from taxes.
Fire district tax.
If not the board, okay, then who do I go to if I have a concern? You see what I mean? I'm the one paying the tax. We're all paying the taxes for you guys to do your job, okay? But we still need someone that you answer to, that we can come to, okay?
So with newly appointed fire commissioners, the fire commissioners are answerable to the public. So
Okay.
instead of the town board, it would be the Board of Fire Commissioners.
Okay.
That the townspeople would come and say, this is what we want, and this is what we support or don't support.
And they're elected official?
Yep.
Okay, good. That's all.
Any other questions? So we'll be having a fire district meeting at the end of next month, 28th, Sue. Fire district meetings are at 5 o'clock. Fire district meetings are separate from the town board meetings. So any activity regarding fire district is discussed at a fire district meeting. Okay.
Thank you. Does anybody have any other further questions or comments? Mhm.
All the property owners. Are all the property owners located within the proposed fire district included in it? And is it in the public's interest to form a fire district? So these are the questions that the state comptroller needs to be answered, affirmative or negative by the town board.
Very good. Thank you, Tom. So does anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, with that, we're going to close the the hearing for the fire department. And we are going to move on to our second hearing for this evening. And that is for the creation of the establishment of the Vestal Volunteer Emergency Squad Ambulance Tax District. And that would be under Town Law Article 12-A. So we're going to open the public hearing. And I'd like to introduce Jerry Schultz and Mark Tomko, who will be doing a presentation in regards.
Well, thank you, Maria and Town Board. We appreciate you letting us come back. This is a follow-up to previous meetings where we've shown you quite a bit. And due to technical difficulties with your laptop, we're going to have to go to the old school of paper for this presentation. What I do want to remind you is you've seen the video that we put together. It's on the town website. It's on the Vestal EMS website. That gives a good history, but it's about a 15-minute presentation that goes through the history of the squad. We're going to bypass that tonight, and because of time, but we want to hit on the highlights of why the taxing district for Vestal Emergency Squad. And if you go to the first page, unfortunately, unlike the fire district and police, EMS is not an essential service by New York State definition. It's hard to believe that we're not an essential service. There are laws pending and working at the state level. They have been working for the last 2 or 3 years for this. We are hoping that they will pass. And if they do, every town will be able to do the taxing district. You guys are ahead of the curve by working with us. One of the things I will note is we are the last EMS agency in Broome County to be asking for public funds to help support our services. Town of Union's had their taxing district for over 20 years. Most everybody else is getting support somehow from their towns. We're the last ones to do it. But we have been looking at this for probably the last 4 to 5 years to put this together. And how we got here is simple. We have been very frugal and fiscally responsible in doing things and running an organization. We started, the police department ran the ambulance out of the police department back in the 50s. And Vestal Emergency Squad was formed in 1976 as a separate organization, but under the town. So it was supported by town tax dollars and all volunteers and separated from the police department. We are now at the point where, so many years later, we have grown from 1 ambulance to now 5 ambulances, 3 fly cars, and a variety of other vehicles. And we're responding to over 4,000 calls annually. We get our revenue by fee for service. So it's simple. If we go pick somebody up and transport them to the hospital, we get paid. If we don't transport, we don't get paid. If we go and do a diabetic wake up, we do anything on scene and the patient signs off, we don't get paid. So fee for service is how we've been able to fund our program for the last, since 95, was it? 95. So for the last 30 years, we've been able to do it that way. But the costs are rising. We just can't continue to do that anymore. For, if we look at what we do, our ALS ambulance billing is about $800 for an ambulance call is what we bill. We could bill $2,000. It doesn't matter. We're only going to get paid what the insurance companies or CMS will pay for Medicare, Medicaid. Currently on that $800 bill, Medicare is only providing about $450 reimbursement. So they're not even paying for the price of the ambulance. And then again, they're only paying 80% of that. The individual is responsible for the other 20%. So basically, fee for service is not keeping up. Medicaid hasn't been able to keep up. And if you flip and look at our revenues, this is why we've been thinking about this for the last 4 or 5 years. We have been running deficits since 2021 of about $250,000 to $300,000 a year minimum. And this year it's projected to be over $600,000. We've been able to cover that by our savings and by moving monies around and being very fiscally responsible, and also by not replacing our capitals. But it's come to the point where we need to replace a lot of our capital equipment. Our monitors are no longer able to be serviced by their vendor. Our ambulances are all getting old in the fleet. And as you look at our projections that are going out through 2028, we're projecting to lose $1 million a year for that. So that's why we're coming to the town at this point and looking to get the taxing district, and we're asking for $985,000 a year. And based on the 2024 assessment rates, that would be about 0.42 per thousand assessed value. So in this town, if you're a $100,000 home, that'd be about $42. If you go up to a $250,000, $300,000 home, you're talking about $120 to $150 a year. So while it seems like a lot and nobody likes new taxes, it's the only way to continue our operations. And if we look, a couple pages later, the monies that will be used will be for ambulance and fly car replacement. Our ambulances are all getting older. They get high use miles on them, and we need to have them at people's service because we never know when the calls are going to come in. So there's a cost preparedness. The vehicle maintenance is going up. As everybody knows, the cost of the vehicles is increasing. Fuel, capital equipment purchases. Most of our capital equipment is good for 10 years before it has to be replaced. Our ambulances, we try to keep on a 7-year rotation. We've pushed that out a little bit to kind of cut our capital costs over the last few years, but we've gotten to the point where we can't do that any longer. And we just have rising costs. Insurance is up 20% this past year. Our salaries are up 37% over the last 3 years. So we're in the same bind as all that other healthcare institutions, hospitals with the nursing. So we're seeing a significant rise in costs. We're seeing an increase in the number of calls, but we're not seeing an increase in our reimbursement rates. So that graph just continues to widen that gap between what we collect and what we need. If we look at, anything else across the board, as an agency of the town, when we started, we broke away, but we've always been part of the town. One of the big things we do is we don't charge our town citizens for our services, for our standby events. So we do go out and cover the picnics, the races, all the events that go on in the community, and we don't charge for that service. Part of the reason is we feel we're part of the community, but part of it is if we had to bill anybody who was requesting the ambulance to be there $175 an hour as a standby, they wouldn't be able to put on that service. We do the same thing for the school district, for the football games where we're mandated by law to be there. So we do a lot of participation in the community. Another big thing was our building. We had received a grant back in 2014, 2015, based on the 2011 flood to replace our building that's in Twin Orchards, which was flooded out with 6 feet of water. Once we got the funding, which was enough to build the station, we didn't actually build the station until after COVID hit and we moved in 2022. At that point, the building cost $1.3 million more than we had budgeted and had funds for. So the squad had to eat the cost and take a bond out to do that. So that is raising our costs significantly as well. But it's a nice building, and we thank the town for working with us and getting us that. The other part of having the money is that we will keep and reestablish our small conservative fund that we use to fund our agency. We try to follow what the hospitals do in the area. Most hospitals in New York State try to keep 120 days cash on hand for operating expenses. We're trying to stay there. We've had to draw down on that, but we're trying to reestablish that. And that covers all our cash flow problems, because most of our issues are when we bill insurance companies, we're seeing average payment is 90 days out. So we're not even getting our money normally, like when you pay your credit card bill within 30 days. We don't get paid by insurance till a long time out. So we're looking to help have a little bit of money in our pockets so we can avoid any offset in that kind of thing. As with the fire district, you saw the questions. We're looking at who will this benefit and will all the town residents benefit from it? We say yes. Will it be applied to all the residences, all the assessed values? Yes. And, we think it's a great service to have. One of the big things, and I encourage people to go to watch the video, but one of the big things is Vestal is very integral to part of the Broome County EMS service. We have 4,000 calls a year we respond to. We have 2 crews on duty normally, and a lot of times we have 3 and 4 crews out on calls at the same time. If we didn't have the service, then the question becomes who else would provide it? And that would have to come from mutual aid. We do mutual aid to other towns in Broome County and Tioga County, and we'd have to have them come in to do mutual aid when we're unavailable. And it works pretty well. We do more mutual aid out than we ask in at this point. We cover 97.2% of our calls on average. Most other agencies are in the high 80s, so we do provide a service. And part of that reason is we want to make sure we cover Vestal. We do reserve our last crew that's on duty to the town so that we aren't servicing another community when we should be servicing ours. And I'm going to ask Jerry to speak for a few minutes.
Yeah, just to go off what Mark's been saying, we've tried very hard not to come here to establish another layer of tax, but we have no alternative. The volume of calls go up every year and our revenues go down every year. He and I are volunteers. We don't get paid to run the place. And there's a decent amount of volunteer base, but we do have to have paid paramedics, and that's where the payroll comes in, our largest expense. Great group of people, guys and gals. But we run the place pretty frugally, and we have for a number of years. And that's why we are still sustaining ourselves through the savings we built up over a number of years, not ever thinking we'd be where we are today. So, and to give you a different perspective on a county, Dave Tinkelpall is the EMS coordinator for Broome County. He can give you a perspective of what would happen if we go away and how the state of EMS is in general.
Thank you, Jerry. Good afternoon, evening, I suppose it is. Yes, my name is Dave Tinkelpaw. I am the EMS coordinator for Broome County. I've been appointed to that position about a year ago. At that time, we were working on an EMS study for the county, and some of the information that I can share with you will draw a sense of urgency that I think is important to recognize for our EMS services, both within Vestal as well as within the county as a whole. When you look at national standards, we talk about having an EMS response on scene between 8 and 10 minutes. Vestal has done a phenomenal job by having sole resource available so that they will always have an ambulance or at least one ambulance available for that final call. And when they have 2 or more, they allow that to be part of mutual aid. They have volunteers that will come in to cover what was known as off-duty calls. They are able to maintain that point of call, patient contact, inside of that time on a more regular basis. Within the county, it is not uncommon for an ambulance to take greater than 10 minutes to get on scene. 10 minutes is a long time. It would be far longer if Vestal was not in existence. We have Vestal that will actually respond to calls and not just go to the town of Union or maybe over to Appalachian. They're going to Eastern Broome, Windsor. They're going into the city of Binghamton. They're going to the town of Binghamton. That is substantial, right? So the impact by not having a Vestal Volunteer Emergency Squad is, it would be devastating to our system. And this conversation isn't just happening in the town of Vestal. This is happening in all the towns within Broome County, but this is also a national crisis. So we find this not just here locally, but across, and every agency is suffering the same thing. Revenues are skyrocketing. There is just, look at inflation, look what it costs today for any groceries. The amount of income continually stays stagnant. An ambulance run goes out the door for any call, they're already at a loss. Volunteerism. Vestal is one of the few services within Broome County that still has a significant number of volunteers. There is one agency in Broome County that I can say has more volunteers. That is the student-run ambulance service at Binghamton University because those kids get college credit for it and they use it for other venues. So Vestal does a phenomenal job of keeping people engaged. It is an incredible institution and action needs to be taken to keep them whole to the best of their ability, not only for the residents of Vestal, but also for our EMS system as in general.
Thanks, Dave. Like I said, this is really important. This happens. I guess there'll be a vote on the 14th. Yes. So that's all I have to say and add.
So we want to thank you. And if there's any questions, we'll take them.
I could speak louder too.
Because also, not only can some not hear in the room very easily, but people who watch the video can't hear it all. So
Yeah,
please.
yeah. I used to be a school teacher too, so you think I could speak up. But, no, it's just the same question. You guys do a great job, but now you're going to be collecting tax money, okay? So you're going to answer to the board? Yeah.
Yes.
So my only question. Okay, elected officials, that's all I'm interested.
Yeah, we've always shared our financials with the town. And we have a contract with the town where we also keep monies in CDs and rollover. So in the event anything happens, so we've always worked with the town very closely on that.
Hi, I think you guys do a great job. I'm in awe of EMS. I have 3 questions. I think you said salaries are up 37% over 3 years, which sounds very high, but I'm thinking maybe it's benefits, but maybe you could elaborate a little on that. The second question is for the mutual aid. Is there any reimbursement from the other townships when we help them? Because it sort of incentivizes them to not be fully staffed, although I understand we're an affluent area, maybe the others aren't. That's my third question. Oh, and are the EMTs allowed to use the vehicles for personal purposes at all?
Okay, so we'll, I think, reverse that order. So the EMTs, we don't let them use the vehicles for personal business. We do have fly cars that some of our officers have. So when they're on duty or when they're responding to calls, because we do a significant amount of backup calls where the volunteers come in. So they will sign out one of the vehicles if they take it home, but they have to respond to calls. So it's not for personal use, it's for business. For mutual aid calls, yes, we will get reimbursed, but only if we transport. If we go over to provide an ALS assist and the other agency transports, we will get a fee for part of that. We'll get reimbursement. And the first question, I forget now. The salary, right. So back in 2020, our medics were actually only being paid $20.50 an hour to start, which really wasn't a lot for a paramedic with, life responsibilities. That has changed in recently over the last 4 years. That's gone up to $28.50 to start. And again, that's partly because this isn't a growing area. People are dropping out and there's a shortage of medics, just like there's a shortage of nurses in the hospitals. So salaries have commanded. One of the agencies is union run. And so they negotiated new contracts. So all the other agencies then had to kind of keep up pace or they'd lose medics. And if we don't have medics, we can't run our ambulances. We have to have them on there. So that was a big thing. It's not the benefits, it's been the salary increase to get them to a respectable salary. Anything else?
Question.
Sure.
You mentioned the university student system. So how much would university?
As far as mutual aid, is that your question?
That kind of thing, but also the fire district, I know, does a lot of calls up to BU. Would you
Yeah.
do a similar thing
Okay.
where you take calls up? in
We
the
go
evening?
on campus when Harper's Ferry typically is out of service, when school's not in session, holidays, summer break. Uh, we go and we're part of the mutual aid that would be going to the campus. And it's treated like any other call. We bill the student or the family. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Harper's Ferry, our calls would be quite a bit higher, but so we're thankful to have them.
I'd like to make a comment. Honestly, I just want to say that I think you guys do a phenomenal job. I've had personal experience with my father. You guys were there, literally within a couple minutes, when he had a heart issue. I think it's a tragedy that this has not been an essential service for New York State. I still call for the governor to make that an essential service in New York State. However, I think that you guys need to be supported, and I really appreciate all the work that you guys do. So thank you.
And we just want to say thank you again to the town board. I always come back to this. One of the biggest functions that the local government should be doing is providing for the safety and protection of their citizens. And what you do to support the police department, the fire department, and us, even though we're not officially part of the town, has been just amazing. We've always felt like, we're separate, but we're always part of the town. So we always appreciate that. And we appreciate your time and effort into this. We've been thinking about this for 5 years and been trying to do it for 2 years. And we're at that point where we're just out of resources, and we thank you for listening to us and, hopefully passing this.
Are there any other questions or comments from the public? Okay, with that, before we close the hearing, I'll make my own comments in a minute, but under my section. But I just wanted to read the official notice. So this was the official notice that was published for the hearing today. And it read, notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held on July 24th at 6 p.m. regarding the creation of the Vestal Volunteer Emergency Squad Ambulance Tax District under Town Law Article 12A. Notice is further given that a map plan and report have been filed in the office of the town clerk pursuant to 209C of the town law and is available for public inspection. Said map, plan, and report having a description of the proposed district, the proposed method of operation, the maximum amount proposed to be expended for the ambulance service, and the cost of the proposed district to the typical property owner. Therefore, pursuant to statute, the town board of the town of Vestal will, on the above date and time, as we just had a public hearing in the town boardroom, Vestal Town Hall, 605 Vestal Parkway. At the time of the hearing, all interested persons have been heard. And with that, we're going to close the open hearing and we're going to move on. Thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it. And so I'll make my own comments in this section. So for the supervisor updates, I just wanted to give an overview for those of you who had some questions in regards. I'll start first with my own personal opinion, and I believe is the consensus of the board is that our fire personnel and our ambulance personnel are absolutely essential to our residents, every resident of Vestal. They do an absolutely amazing job. But to let our residents know what is actually going on with both of them, I just wanted to clarify. Our fire department, who has given above and beyond, who is made up of almost all volunteer fire personnel, our residents, 100% volunteer. I know, well, you have some a couple of paid staff, but all the fire personnel are 100% volunteer. And they do an absolutely amazing job at helping our residents at all hours of the time, day or night, weekday or weekend. They are there for every other resident, no matter what. And they, in doing that, have provided a service that is absolutely essential to us. We could not do without them. So number one, I want to thank them for all the time and effort that they give. And I want to thank them for all the service. And I want to explain to the public that they need their equipment and that costs money. They have been a part of the town. They are our residents. They are a part of our town. But they are technically separating now and they're becoming independent, but they are still our Vestal Volunteer Fire Department. And I know that there have been questions about oversight. There will be beginning elections at the end of this year. They will be under separate elected fire commissioners. And they will hold the same public hearings and discussions that they do now. And as the town board does on other issues. So they will be as available as they always have been. The fire department does an amazing job. All the personnel do too. All they're simply doing is separating technically away and becoming independent. But their job, their role, and their immense capabilities are the same. So we thank them once again for their service. And I want to just wanted to explain that technically they're becoming separated because we are the last fire department in New York State that is under the town board and is not supposed to be. So we're just setting up the system as all other towns have. But once again, our thanks to all of them. And secondly, I wanted to explain to those residents that wanted clarification. Our Vestal Ambulance Squad is absolutely essential as well. They go above and beyond. They are mostly volunteers. And their staff is the only staff that I believe is paid are the paramedics. And that is because the unbelievable training involved to become a paramedic. However, in speaking to Jerry Schultz and Mark Tomko, just giving me a tour of the place and looking at their budgets and everything, I want to tell you that they have done everything in their power to not have to ask any resident for money. Above and beyond, they have tried to keep older ambulances in service. They have tried to stretch their dollars as far as possible, but they just can't do it anymore. But as Steve has said, I want to reiterate, my family member has needed their services. And I want to tell you, and I know we all kind of know, but please, I want to remind you that if you do not have an ambulance when you need it, it might cost you your life or your family member's life. So please understand, they are so important to our residents, every single one of them, because you never know when something might happen. I want to thank all of our ambulance volunteers as well, and our paramedics as well, who have gone above and beyond for so many of our residents. So once again, I want to clarify though, that they cannot do it. So they do have to set up a taxing district. As they have explained in the presentation, the cost will be minimal for any household, but they cannot do without it. We will lose our ambulances and our personnel if we do not do this. So please, when you see our personnel, whether they be fire or ambulance, please understand how much they give to our community, how important they are, and please support them both in word and in finance. Okay, that's all I wanted to say, but I wanted to thank everybody who makes it all possible. So thank everybody who volunteers their time. We literally could not do without you. So thank you. Okay, and with that, I want to move on to, we don't have any resolutions or, I'm sorry, we skipped privilege of the floor. So this is a section in which any resident of Vestal may ask a question or have a comment, but specifically for the agenda this evening. If you have a question or a comment about anything else, you can say it at the end. There's a separate section for that. And I just want to remind everybody that in the public comment section, I just ask that everybody be respectful of everybody in the room, whether they be an elected official or a town employee or a member of the public, because we are here for town business. So we should be respecting everybody and talking about the issues only. We do have a timer. Hopefully it's working. We do ask you to limit it for 3 minutes. The clock is up there simply to let you say everything that you want to say within the time frame. Okay, so with that, does anybody have any questions or comments about the agenda this evening? Okay, so then we'll move on to the agenda and there'll be a section at the end if anybody would like to say anything else. So we'll start with, we do not have any resolutions or motions, so we're going to go to Public Works. Steve?
8.1.1, we have a request from Scott Groats, Water and Wastewater Superintendent for the Town Board to approve advertising for bids for the Parkway Lift Station pump upgrade on July 31st, 2024, to be opened on August 14th, 2024 at 2 p.m.
Okay, thank you. So do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. And seconded?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And it's carried. Thank you. And we'll move on to finance. So Sue?
Authorization for the town board to approve payment in the amount of $677 to the law firm of Coughlin and Gerhart LLP for outside counsel fees for professional services rendered through June 30, 2024.
Thank you very much. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. And seconded?
Seconded.
Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And it's carried. And the next one?
Authorization for the town board to approve payment in the amount of $8,515 to the law firm of Hancock Estabrook LLP for outside counsel fees for legal services rendered through June 30th, 2024.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. And seconded?
Seconded.
Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And just to explain to the public, those are, our town attorney is absolutely amazing, above and beyond. But for different reasons, town does have to employ lawyers for specific reasons. So these are what those payments are for. With that, we'll move on to personnel, which is Steve.
10.1.1, authorization for Patrick Harnan, Recreation Planner, to hire summer camp staff as outlined in his July 17, 2024 memo. Start dates and rates of pay are also identified in the memo, which is included in the addendum.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. And it's carried. Thank you. And Patrick, they're still mobilizing their staff for the summer recreation program, which is up and running. So my thanks, and I'm sure the board thanks them. Thanks him and his staff for doing an absolute incredible job for all the programs that they have for the summer for the youth. They do an absolutely amazing job. So with that, we're going to move on to planning and zoning. And Sue?
Request from Vern Myers, town engineer, for the town board to discuss an application for vehicle service station permit for 993 Vestal Parkway West to operate a business for small equipment sales and rental business at this location. If in agreement, please approve a publication date of August 2, 2024 for a public hearing on August 14, 2024. And I'll make that motion.
Thank you. And seconded?
Seconded.
Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And it's carried. Thank you. So we're going to move on to public safety and Sue once again.
Request from Police Chief Stace Kittner for the town board to accept $211,700 that was received as a grant from the Department of Criminal Justice Services 24-25 Law Enforcement Tech Funds to help cover the costs associated with implementing new technology. And I'll make that motion.
Thank you. And seconded?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great. And it's carried. And once again, I want to thank Police Chief Kittner and all of his personnel. They do an absolute amazing job at making applications for all the grants that they receive. Above and beyond, they bring money into their department that helps them to upgrade their equipment, which if they did not proactively get these grants for their department, it would have to come out of taxpayer funds. Most of it is stuff that they could not do without. So their work is much appreciated, because it saves the taxpayers all of that money. So, once again, amazing job. And we move on to administration. Robert?
13.1.1 request from Lorna Steigerwald, President of the Preservation Association of the Southern Tier, passed to use the space under the overhang of the Coal House on Saturday, September 21st, 2024, from 11:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. for the ticket pickup spot for the annual Past Historic Homes Tour, which is featuring Vestal Homes this year. She is also requesting that Past be able to provide tours of the Coal House building and Vestal Museum to the house tour participants.
Okay, well, first I have to have a motion and a seconded, and then I want to make a change to it. So can somebody make a motion?
I'll make.
Moved.
Thank you. And seconded?
Second.
Seconded. And can we, because we had discussed, contingent upon the completion of the application and approval of the board and final approval of the plan for, by the board.
Mhm.
Can we
Yeah.
add that? Contingent upon the application completion and final approval by the board. Okay?
So,
Yeah, we will. I just wanted to discuss it first.
so,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion that that amendment be added.
Okay, so, and seconded,
Seconded.
and all in favor?
Aye.
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 And did
Okay.
we want to discuss it? Did you want to discuss it?
Okay, so you want to discuss it? So, so we had discussed the fact that we had the application process, so they're going to complete the application. All of the department heads are going to be consulted and be able to have input before the actual event. And finally, they will come and speak to the board to approve their final plans. Everybody agree? Okay.
Is that for part one or part two? Is that regarding the request to provide the tours? Or is it also in regards to the space? to use
It's
for the,
actually for both because
for
the,
both,
yeah,
okay.
the application will
Clear.
cover both. Everybody good? Okay. So I think we just voted on it anyway, but. Okay, so then with the amended version, let's just vote as a total. So with the statement, with the revision, so do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. And seconded.
Seconded.
Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so it's definitely improved. Thank you very much. Do you want to read the ones?
Okay, sure. Warrants 2024, 29G, 29C, 29M, 29T. These are all financial bills that have been paid. Some of them are general, some of them are medical insurance bills. And if anybody has any questions, we'll be glad to elaborate.
Okay, thank you very much. It's just a receive my file, so we don't vote on it. And petitions and protests, we don't have any. Old business, we don't have any. And new business. 16.1.1, authorization for the town supervisor to sign an agreement to purchase real property with Matthews Development of Old Vestal Road LLC for the purchase of a portion of the land located at 3005 Vestal Road, Vestal. This is for the Vestal Rail Trail Phase 3 project. And can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And just a comment is explanation is just simply that that is all included in the rail trail phase 3 project cost. And so we move on to the next one, which is 16.1.2 with this authorization for Gazelle Race Timing LLC to use the rail trail on July 27th, 2024 for a Lyme disease awareness 5K. A certificate of liability insurance has been has been provided to the town, sorry. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, and seconded?
I'll second.
Second.
Thank you, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Thank you, and it's carried. And then the third one, 16.1.3, request from Michael Harmon, Vestal Public Library Director to use a portion of the town-owned library parking lot on August 16th, 2024, from 5 PM to 8 PM for the summer reading program finale block party. Have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. And seconded?
Seconded.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you, and it's carried. Very good. And so we move on to, it's a library event, so it's separate from the town. Yeah.
I didn't have that.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, that was an add-on. But they're gonna organize and run, and it's just the use of the parking lot. Thank you. Thank you. And then supervisors' announcements. So I just wanted to once again thank Stace Kittner for organizing and spearheading, along with all of the SROs and all of the volunteers that help make the Summer Youth Academy possible. They do an absolutely amazing job. I know some of our town personnel have been dropping in, and some are wholly involved, and 10 of them are wholly involved in making sure that the program just is not only a summer youth program, but it is a summer youth program that is above and beyond, with amazing demonstrations, outside units being brought in, and just an incredible learning and enjoyment time for all of the youth that are participating. So I want to thank all of the people involved that have coordinated and volunteer and or give their time in order to make it happen. So thank you to Stace, all the SROs, all the staff, board members that are intricately involved, including Sue Messina, and to all the volunteers who assisted as well. And also a reminder, brush pickup is always the first week of the month. So if you could keep it to putting out your brush on the first. It starts on the first Monday of the month. So I know everybody wants to make sure it's out there in time, but they don't start until the first, and it takes about a week to go around. So if they don't pick you up on the first day, they'll be out there. They'll get around to you. But please have it out by the first Monday of the month. And thank you to Highway this is their crazy, incredibly busy time of the year. One of the crazy busy and incredible times of the year. And I want to thank our highway personnel and our parks department for doing such an amazing job with all of the summer mowing, park maintenance, highway work. They do everything. And it is literally an army that takes it to make everything happen. And I want to thank Craig Heller and Andy Gow for coordinating everything and making sure that all of our residents' requests are heard and ensure that our roads are taken care of, our parks are taken care of, and that they even pick up our brush and provide free mulch for residents only, though. So once again, thank you to them. I also want to remind residents that the Rumble Ponies Binghamton evening game has been rescheduled to August 17th. And on that evening, if you wear Vestal colors, you will get a discount going into the event. But they will also be highlighting some of our town personnel, and our town personnel will be throwing out, fingers crossed, the first and second pitches. So please join us that evening. They will be showing you a little bit about our town of Vestal, but a lot of our employees are going, so help us to celebrate, and be proud of our town. So I also want to announce the Vestal Recreation Summer Celebration, Wednesday, August 7th, 5 PM to 8 PM, which will have food trucks, inflatable rides, DJ, carnival games, face painting, emergency vehicles on display, and more, and free entry for everybody. Do we know where this is? Is it Arnold Park?
Arnold Park, yes.
Okay, thank you. At Arnold Park. And also, I want to thank our summer recreation staff, above and beyond, bless you, mobilizing an incredible army of youth programs, but also summer events for all of our residents. So they do an absolutely incredible job as well. So with that, conclude my announcements and committee chairs comments. Anybody have anything to add?
Public safety.
Public safety.
Okay, just wanted to give a shout out to the fire department. In terms of over the past month, we've had some pretty significant erratic and bizarre weather. And they've been Johnny on the spot to help along with EMS and the police department. And I also want to let you know that the Vestal Police Youth Academy ends this week, but have had a lot of activities that incorporate the services of the town so that the youth of the town can see all the different components that are involved in keeping the residents of not just the town, but the county and the state safe. And fire EMS did an amazing job with a demo that happened last week, as well as EMS participating in the active shooter drill this morning. So it's been a really active 2 weeks with the high school, an active week with the middle school, and our children have learned and grown. And so special thanks to all the public safety entities within the town.
Yes, and I should have included them, so I apologize. And I hope it goes without saying how important our police officers are to our town in ensuring that all of our residents are safe 24/7 for 365 days a year. So I want to thank them for putting their lives forward for us. So thank you. Thank you, sir. Does anybody else have anything to put forward?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a couple comments, just on Public Works. Obviously the guys have been out there, ditch work. I mean, obviously mowing the parks, everything. I mean, they've really been really active. And so I wanted to say thank you to them as well as the personnel from Recreation. I don't know if you guys have checked out any of the parks, but they are filled with kids and Vestal employees that are running the rec program there. So I just want to say thank you to all the personnel. I know that they do a lot of work and it's been a hot summer. So I just want to say thank you to everybody out there that's putting forth these programs for our residents.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. Any other comments or? Okay, very good. So then we will, we're going to move to public comments. So does anybody in the audience, does anybody have any questions or comments about anything? Yes, well, we'll get you the microphone. Thank you.
And can we please state our name for the record? when we
Yeah,
speak, if you don't mind?
I'm Tom Mooney. I'm on Rockwell Road in Vestal. And yeah, I just wanted to clarify a couple things. I think you mentioned what the legal expenses were in these items. There were 2 or 3 things that you approved for legal expenses, but maybe a one-liner about what that was about and how our legal person doesn't handle that, or so we can just understand.
Yeah. So, yep. Thank you.
The town attorney's office doesn't handle litigation. So there were 2 bills that were approved, one to a local firm, Coughlin and Gerhart. There was a second one that was approved for a Hancock and Estabrook. And they're involved in complicated litigated matters that is outside the purview of the town attorney's office.
It's something you can't handle, or
It's something I could handle. It's outside of the job requirements. I would charge the town just like they do for outside services.
Yeah.
So under those circumstances, we engage law firms to do the litigation.
And again, on these line items on these handouts, I think it would help the public if we could just have a brief description of what that is and why. Okay.
Yeah, we'll discuss with him what we can put in, because remember, all litigation is confidential.
Yeah.
So we can, maybe we can.
And maybe
talk
just
about
state,
putting a subject
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one thing. And what was the cost of the rail trail extension? I mean,
The whole
we passed something, but
Yeah.
do we know what it's gonna cost?
That was.
Oh, the property acquisition, is that enough?
Again, this is just something to add, I think,
was-
to these things,
Yeah.
so we know what you're voting on and how much is
Yeah, we
going.
normally put the amount down. I'm sorry, I didn't notice.
And,
that.
and even if it's just at the next meeting, we just mentioned what that was, that would be helpful in the name of, again, you just,
Yes.
transparency, okay?
No, 100%. I believe it was about $10,000 for that particular parcel.
Excuse me?
I believe it was about $10,000 for that particular parcel. I'd have to see, I'd have to look at the document again. But
Yeah.
normally we do included the
Yeah.
dollar amount in there, so I'm sorry, we normally
Okay.
do.
And I'm gonna say something else that might not be popular, but I'm gonna say it anyways, okay? I think that the fire department and the EMS I mean, I've used their services, okay? They're great people. They're doing great work, okay? We all need their services, okay? So we need to give them the funds they need, okay? But why are we doing that on the basis of what your house assessment is? We're all in this together, okay? We should be paying for them. They're giving us equal services, okay? Great equal services, but some people are paying 10, 20 times more than other people are paying, okay? I, for one, am not in favor of that. I mean, I don't think we should pay for those services based on how able we are to pay for those services. I think that we all need these services. We should pay equal amounts for it. I think it should be a flat assessment, okay? How much they need divided by the populace, that's what we pay. We all use them. We all use them the same way. You know, this reeks too much to me of from each according to their ability, okay? And I don't agree with that, okay? That's all.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anybody else have any questions or comments, ma'am? Sure, absolutely.
Hi, Robin Ayers, Murray Hill Road. I just want to say I haven't attended a meeting in person since before COVID. I didn't know there were recordings. This is wonderful. I have two questions. One is, there's been talk on and off about a dog run in Vestal. I was wondering if there's any update on that. And then the second thing is Murray Hill is very much a pedestrian area with no sidewalks. And I've seen the Broome County Sheriff presented this accident statistics, and it's like a cluster on Murray Hill as well as some of the others. And I was just hoping that since the roads are in poor shape, maybe when we redo the roads, we could put in speed bumps or something, because stop signs don't work, pedestrian crossing signs don't work. And somehow SUNY is able to use speed bumps to keep the kids in check. I hope we can too. Not to mention plenty of other people.
Thanks. Well, to answer your question about the dog run, it's definitely still a possibility. I think, the board needs to discuss it. We've been trying to handle, we've been doing a lot.
Important.
So, but it is still on the agenda. It is definitely a possibility. There were tentative plans to have one in one park, but a lot of residents have, in that area specifically there, have said, have voiced their concerns about it. So what we're going to do is, we are going to reach out and see where people would suggest having it. And in consultation with our highway superintendent, who is also our parks director, we're going to see what's viable, what's not, and then we're going to be talking to the public, but especially for the residents of the community to ensure that the residents want it in that location as well.
Well, I understand there's a big problem with the dogs on the rail trail, so maybe a parcel of land off the rail trail, and then if you have volunteers, they could also clean up the rail trail.
Yeah, it's going to be a whole discussion about improving everything overall. And we're going to be talking about different topics as well, but it's definitely something we'll discuss. And we will put that forward to our town engineer about the speed bumps as well. Thank you very much. Sir?
Hi, Zachary Hanna, 3128 Briarcliff. I wanted to also voice some concerns about traffic in the area in Vessel around Jensen and Burris. I've seen 2 accidents with pedestrians and or bicycles in that area, one including my brother. And I just wanted to say there's not a lot of infrastructure for speed control or safety of pedestrians, especially on Jensen. I see cars going down Jensen like 40, 50 miles an hour. Aside from that, I also have recently built a 6-foot bench, a park bench. I'm seeking the highway department to possibly bolt the bench down at one of the parks. And I could donate it to the city or something like that, but wanted to see the process of that.
Oh, thank you very much.
Mhm.
Number one, I hope your brother's okay. Is he
Oh, yeah,
okay?
he's fine. Yeah.
And I can tell you that our town engineer and our highway superintendent, they did some paving of Jensen, as I'm sure you're aware. Though they have different levels of project for it to make it safer. And the whole cost of the whole project is in the neighborhood of $5 million. So they are absolutely considering if we can do lesser things to make it safer. But I will throw out the safety aspect and see, and once again, we will bring it to them and see if there's something that we can do it in the interim to enhance safety. Because I know. But I'm glad your brother's okay. And in terms of the bench, I know our highway superintendent has taken donations in the past and does take donations. So I'm sure Craig Keller would be glad to talk to you about the possibilities about making the donations, and our park employees. And I believe I don't know if Parks and Highway or in the parks, it's usually, I think, just parks, they install them.
Okay.
But I can tell you on the rail trail, they took donated park benches and they go above and beyond. Not only did they install the park benches, but they made it or the concrete made a graded, I don't even know what to call it, but a rock formation. It was beautiful. They make it really nice.
Yeah.
So I would definitely talk, if you leave us your contact information, I'll be glad
Will
to
do.
email him in regards. I'm sure he would love to help.
Sure. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, does anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, with that,
Motion to adjourn?
thank you very much. And seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Very good. Thank you. Thank you, and have a good evening, everybody.
Yeah, that's why I like.